I would like to invite Ms. Ingrid Betancourt, former Colombian senator and presidential candidate.
My dear and distinguished friends, First Miriam, my sister, every time I listen to her voice and to her words, I'm just so enraged and infuriated that she's not ruling Iran. But that day will come. My dear friend John, dear Baroness, dear Dame Thérèse Hautevillers, dear Senator, dear Mr. Ward, dear friend Daulat, it is an honor to be with you today in this church house, a place steeped in history, where the United Nations Security Council met for the first time to defend peace, freedom, human dignity in the darkest hours of the last century. On this World Day Against the Death Penalty, we gather here not only to denounce an instrument of barbarism, but to affirm the sanctity of human life and the power of conscience, principles that no regime, however brutal, will ever be able to destroy. Today in Iran, 17 men and women, prisoners of conscience, freedom fighters, human beings of extraordinary courage, await execution. Their crime is to think, to claim for justice, dignity, and freedom. Their crime is to support the MEK, the Iranian opposition movement fighting for the right of Iranian people to choose democracy. For more than 6 decades, the MEK has carried the torch of liberty through oppression, imprisonment, and exile, as many of you here know, confronting 2 dictatorships, the Shah's monarchy and the theocracy that followed. That's why we always say, no Shah, no mullahs. This long struggle, very, very long struggle, 6 decades, explains why it is not merely a political movement. You are not simply a movement. You are a moral force of men and women rooted in values that transcend time and borders. And the regime fears you so deeply because truth always threatens and defeats tyranny. Our 17 now facing death are the voices of courage in a land silenced by fear. They have endured years of imprisonment, torture, deprivation, solitary confinement, and yet their spirit remains unbroken. Their defiance reminds us that freedom is never granted, it's always won. That justice is never offered, it is demanded. So, as they stand on the threshold between life and death, the question before all of us here is not only about their fate, it is also about ours. Will the world remain silent while the innocent are condemned? Or will we, in the free world, rise, speak, and act so that their right to live becomes not another forgotten tragedy, not another sacrifice, but a turning point in the struggle for freedom in the whole world? Our 17 heroes are not alone. Across Iran, thousands of others languish in prison for daring to think freely. And yet, even behind bars, the human spirit refuses to yield. From within those prison walls, a remarkable movement has taken shape. Miriam was talking about that movement. A campaign known as No to Execution Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, because it's the regime's chosen day for execution. For the last 20 consecutive months, these prisoners have refused food, turning hunger into a weapon to point and accuse to their executioners. They have transformed the day of horror into a time for resistance, for dignity, for solidarity, and above all, for hope. Each Tuesday, while the regime seeks to kill and silence, these prisoners speak out and affirm their commitment with justice, not through violence, but through moral strength. Among them, there is a name I want us, but I want the world to learn to cherish. That name is Mariam Akbari Monfared. You know her. Mariam has spent 16 years in prison, separated from her 3 daughters, who have grown into young women without their mother's embrace. Her crime, again, supporting the dream of a democratic Iran and seeking justice for her 4 siblings, 3 brothers, and 1 sister executed by the regime for the crime of being member of the MEK. 2 of them were killed among the 30,000 political prisoners massacred in 1988, a genocide investigated and denounced by the UN. When her original 15-year sentence expired, the regime refused to release her, and they fabricated new charges and extended her ordeal by 2 more years. And yet, from the depths of her cell, Mariam continues to inspire courage. Listen to her. She once wrote, "In these years, I have endured many sufferings. Yet, my brothers and my sister, who lost their lives, remain the shining stars of love and hope in my family. From them, I have learned the strength to endure pain and hardship." And yet, in another letter, she declares, "Justice stands stronger than love, even higher than a mother's love for her children. And precisely because I love my children, I have risen in the name of justice." Let's meditate in these words, because these words are not words of despair. They are the moral testimony of a woman who has turned grief into strength and pain into purpose. Mariam Akbari Monfaret, and our 17 on death row are truly the conscience of Iran. Their courage, we know, is pure. Their truth, too inconvenient to the regime, and their example, absolutely vital for us. Us living in the comfort zone of the free countries. Let us, therefore, not be silent accomplices to their erasure. Let us remember them, not out of sorrow, not out of pity, but out of moral power, because it is utterly right to claim for their innocence. My friends, their defiance also carries for us a profound political message for all of us here. For too long, the international community has looked away, placing short-term interests, trade, diplomatic expediency above human rights, and in particular, above the rights of the people of Iran. Today, we must be clear. The death penalty in Iran is not a judicial procedure. It is an inhumane, uncivilized, barbaric political weapon, wielded to instill fear and suppress dissent. Yes, the men and women condemned today are members of a movement that represents the hope, the alternative to dictatorship. Their sense of belonging is what drives their heroic commitment. Yes, they have been offered a way out to save their lives by denying their support to the MEK and work as proxies to the regime. But they have said no. They have said no. No, because the MEK is the democratic option they dream of. Because it's they know, the only chance of an orderly transition when the fall of the Iranian tyranny comes, transition to democracy. And they know that the democratic coalition it has inspired under the leadership of my dear friend Mariam Rajavi is the only way out. We all know here that Mariam Rajavi's vision of a free, democratic, secular, non-violent, non-nuclear Iran stands as the moral and political antithesis of the regime's cruelty and corruption, exporting terrorism, exporting tyranny to the world through a criminal net fueled by blood and by drug money. We all know that. So to support the MEK, to defend our 17 prisoners, to speak for Mariam Akbari Monfaret is therefore not only a moral obligation, it's a survival imperative for each of us. My dear friends, as I stand here in this hall of conscience, I think, and I know you think too, of the faces of the 17, our 17 on death row, the face of Mariam Akbari Monfaret, and of thousands more whose names we may never know. And I wonder, what does it mean when the world hears of injustice and does nothing? Surely silence in the face of execution is more than complicity. It is breaking of our bonds to each other as human beings. Yet there is spark inside every one of us. spark of outrage, spark of compassion that refuses to be extinguished. And that spark is hope. When one mother endures years of separation and torture, and yet raises her voice from within prison walls, that is hope. When prisoners fast on Tuesdays, though their bodies are weak, and yet their resolve is strong, that is hope. So there is hope. Today, let us make a promise to them all, to those 17, and to all who suffer in prison for nothing more than truth and belief. Let's promise them that we will never forget them, that we will carry your story to every parliament, every diplomatic table, every street corner, that we will press for your freedom, for your dignity, for your life, and that we will demand with our voices, our votes, our actions, that no person be executed for wishing freedom. Because the measure of our humanity is seen when we stand up for the powerless, for those whom fear has silenced, for those who are crushed under the boots of tyrants. And the day will come, and I truly believe this, when the blood of martyrs becomes the seed of freedom for all the powerless, when each life saved becomes a victory for the most destitute of all of us. So let us live here today determined, not merely to condemn, but to act. Not just to mourn injustice, but to eradicate it. And when the dawn of a free Iran breaks, when the world rises beyond walls of oppression, those 17, our 17, will not be the last names to be recalled. They will be the first names engraved in the foundations of their, your, our new land of liberty. Thank you.